Hi everybody, this is Bastiaan and this is a game I played using a more modern variation in the London system. So game starts with d4, d5, and immediately I play bishop to f4, signaling the London system. Knight f6, knight f3, knight to c6, and e3. So we can see that now I'm committed to the London system. There's no longer a retreat possible for the bishop. e6 and h3. And h3 is a good move in the London system because not only does it prevent the knight jump to g4, it also allows the bishop to fall back on h2 in case the knight decides to chase it. So knight h5 was played, which is actually a waste because the bishop simply falls back to h2, still putting a lot of pressure on the diagonal, so nothing has changed there. However, this knight is useless on h5 because it can no longer advance and will ultimately have to retreat to the same square. Bishop e7, so black is getting ready to castle. And now typically the London system continues with bishop to d3 or pawn to c3 to prevent knight advances. But I play bishop to b5 and I've had great success in playing this in the London system, because if black plays normally, I can capture the knight on c6, double the pawns, and there's a lot of pressure on the c7 pawn, which is a backward pawn and a little bit trapped because there are double pawns on the c file, and it will be hard for black not to lose the pawn. But bishop to d7 was played, so now I can't double the pawns anymore. Knight to c3. Typically in the London the knight develops to d2 in order to cover the e4 square for a pawn push, but the knight does the same on c3. Also on c3 the knight can protect the bishop on b5, so I don't get a discovered attack bishop on bishop if black decides to move his knight. So the more aggressive knight to c3 was played. Black castles, I castle as well, and knight to f6. So black is swinging his knight back into action, and there's only one possible place for black to continue his knight development, and that's knight to e4. So nothing else is really possible. And on e4 we can see that there's a danger of black trading off my knight on c3, which is protecting the bishop. So I play a4 here, and this move has two purposes. First, it adds some protection on the bishop, and second, it creates an escape on a2 for the bishop to fall back to on some cases. So now knight to e4. If knight takes, I will double pawns, and if I take, black will double pawns. So that's an easy choice. Knight takes knight, pawn takes, knight to d2, and I'm immediately counterattacking the e4 pawn. So f5 is played to prevent that, and black still has a decent setup at this point. Queen e2, adding more protection to the b5 pawn, so I don't have to double the pawns if I don't want to. a6, and black is trying to kick back the bishop, So at this point I can exchange and play bishop takes knight. But instead I fall back on c4, and black continues to chase the bishop, and I can continue to fall back either to b2 or a2, and I fall back to a2, and this looks like a mistake because now this bishop is blocking the protection of the rook on a4, which is currently under attack by black's bishop. But actually black can't take on a4 just yet, because if bishop takes pawn, then we get bishop takes pawn check with a discovered attack on black's bishop. So that's not possible for the moment. Black instead plays c5, so I can take on his pawn, but I play c3 instead. And we can see now white has some sort of a hypermodern setup where he's controlling the center from a distance with these two bishops. And normally with the double fianchetto we can see white's black bishop on b2 and white's white bishop on g2, and now it's the other way around, because it's the white bishop is on a2 and the black bishop is on h2, so they're traded places. Also notice that this pawn formation is developed in such a way that it doesn't hinder the diagonals of the bishops. So the bishops are currently quite strong for white. Queen b6 is played, and that's a strong move by black, because black is attacking the b2 pawn, but is also protecting the e6 pawn. So now black does threaten bishop takes a4, so black has created a double attack. Rook to b1, protecting b2 square. And at this point, can black take on a4? If bishop takes, which wasn't played, white can immediately recapture his pawn by playing pawn takes c5. And the pawn cannot be recaptured, because if bishop or queen takes, b4 and black's pieces are forked. So bishop takes pawn is actually a trap here, so black cannot play it, and it wasn't played. Instead, black wisely decides to exchange pawns first, so pawn takes pawn, and now white can recapture with either the c or e pawn, but that's definitely not equal, because if c takes,